guy, so we'll have to bear with me a little bit. I'm going to try to keep this from running too long because I'm not sure how much video I can upload to Facebook. Making this video's kind of been on my spirit for a while. It does keep coming back to me. It's been on my mind for a while, and I just feel like today's the day. So, with that said, this is my testimony for Jesus Christ. This is not a conclusion that I've come to lightly. I've put a lot of consideration over almost my entire life into this subject. I wasn't introduced to Christianity the way a lot of people were. I wasn't forced into it by a family member at an early age. I feel like a lot of people get kind of turned off to the whole thing that way. Defiance complex and all that. I'm the same way. If I get told to do something, I'm probably going to do the opposite. So, back to, I didn't come to Christianity the way a lot of people do. I more or less found it on my own. I think when I was about 7 years old, I took a little bit longer ride down the block than I was supposed to go, and I wound up at a church, actually the next block over. This was in Denver. The pastor just happened to be there, and I'm pretty sure it was a weekday. I remember he gave me a banana, and about the time I was starting to eat it, my mom pulled up, and she was pretty livid. Yeah, I was definitely outside my safety area in Denver. That's not something you really want to do as a little kid. So, that was more or less my first experience with the church in general. It was several years after that I really had my first evidence, I guess you would call it. To me, it feels, like irrefutable, so I wasn't the most well-behaved kid. At about 12, I wound up in juvenile detention. I had been there probably a little over a month. It was just before Thanksgiving when I left, and it was, I believe, just before Christmas, or just after Christmas, when this happened. So, leading up to, about 2 weeks leading up to this day that I'm going to tell you about, I had been having some numbness in my hand. I had never really had problems with my hands before, or my shoulders, or any kind of numbness in my hands, but my thumb and my forefinger on my right hand would go totally numb, and it would stay that way for hours. I'd shake it, keep it, elevated, nothing worked. But, after about a couple hours, it would go away. So, I didn't really think about it too much. Well, this one particular evening, it was on a Sunday, for the juveniles, they had church service. It wasn't mandatory that you attend or anything, it was still a voluntary thing. For me, I usually went for the food. Go figure. Uh, but this one particular night, uh, it was one of the guards' mother. The guards, all I remember is his name was Cross. He was he was a black guy, PC and all that. But anyway, his mom was there, and she was the one that was having our service and going to be teaching us. And I sat there and listened, and read along and all that. And well, we got to the end of it, and she was getting ready to leave, and she asked us if we needed anything to be prayed about. And I told her that I'd been having this numbness in my hand, and that day in particular, I woke up and it was numb, and for the life of me, I just could not get the numbness to go away at all, even a little bit. And at that point, it was getting kind of uncomfortable. I wasn't, super used to it. It wasn't, pleasant, really. It wasn't unpleasant. It wasn't painful. It was just, So I told her, I'd been having this problem with my hand, and she asked me if I believed in Jesus and if I believed that he could heal me. Well, being a 12-year-old, I'm not sure what I believed. I wanted to. I told her yes, and that may be part of it. But so she proceeded to pray over my hand. She had held my hand in both of hers, and she prayed over me. And I kid you not, literally the instant that she said amen, the numbness started going away in my hand. I was getting that kind of bubbling feeling that if you've ever had your hand, go to sleep and you start shaking and awake, you can kind of feel the blood starting to recirculate in that area. Just instantaneously, it started, the feeling came back. Totally, the numbness totally went away. And to this day, I've never had problems with that anymore, So, yeah, that was the first thing that convinced me. And I've lived quite a few years at this point, having known that, and I keep coming back to that. I've tried to validate these things that I believe, and a lot of that, could be considered information biased. If you believe something, you look for supporting information. So that it may be that, or a lot of it anyway, aside from the experiences that I've had. That was the most obvious to me, and for the longest time, I still, to this day, I struggle with, a few things, crude speech, and I have a couple other areas that I need to work on still, but, that's everybody, nobody's perfect, me especially. The second thing happened just a couple years ago. I was involved in a work accident. A machine I was using pulled apart from my hands. It spun all the way around on the machine and hit me in my forehead. I'm pretty sure it knocked me out because I don't remember hitting the floor. I do remember hearing my coworkers kind of freaking out, so that's totally understandable. But I took a pretty hard hit. I've got pictures. I lost a lot of blood. Come to find out, I had totally shattered my left sinus cavity. And I had torn the lining of my brain. I had to get rushed to have emergency brain surgery. And behind this big dent in my forehead, I've actually got a titanium plate and I think 5 or 6 screws holding my skull together. Which you can see, but they actually had to cut me all the way from ear to ear over the top of my head and peel my face down. That was pretty gnarly. I saw the pictures from my brain surgeon. Yeah, so I survived that too. Somehow. I don't really believe in luck so much. My dad was the lucky one. I've never really had any supernatural experiences, even then as close to, I guess, death as I was. Nothing. I mean, I never saw any light or a tunnel or heard a voice or any of that. The part of the brain that's behind my forehead is responsible for higher cognitive function. That's memory, impulse control, emotional outbursts, things like that. I wasn't sure when I was laying there on that table talking to my brain surgeon. He told me what I had done to myself and that he was going to have to fix it. I wasn't sure if I was going to wake up. I thought, gee, I hope I wake up. And I remember my last thought was, I want to see my kids and my wife again. Somehow I've come through the other side of this almost totally unscathed. I have a battle scar on my face, and a plate holding my skull together. I'm not crippled. I'm not dead. I'm not mentally retarded for the most part, depending on who you ask. I had a lot of people praying for me, and I believe that had a lot to do with it. This video's already 15 minutes long. Trying to remember all my points, as I really have been planning this for quite a while. don't believe that I'm a Christian in the normal sense of the word. It was originally used as a derogatory term to call somebody a Christian. Apparently, I am a follower of Christ. I believe the things I read in my Bible to be truth, and I feel it, and I've experienced all these things, and it's so much more than just those two major things that happened to me. I've had so many random prayers answered. Me and my wife started off from literally nothing. We were living with my grandfather. We didn't have jobs. We didn't have a car. We sold off everything we had. And we built this life that we have together through hard work and faith. And believe, faith is just belief. We believe that we could, and we put some ass into it. And I'm so much farther than I was a couple of years ago. And just that couple of years ago, I thought that I was so far behind where I should have been that I could never catch up. You can turn your life around. The thing about being a Christian is that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to already be doing all the things. It's really a conviction of your heart. I'm kind of losing my place here. So, I have nothing against gay people, other races. I don't hate anybody. I judge nobody. We are all uniquely ourselves. I know people of other faiths and other backgrounds that haven't reached the same conclusion that I have. And I still yet may be wrong. I have enough hard evidence for me to believe. And I guess I'm just making this to share my experience and to put this out there that, this is where my heart's at in it. It's not my place to judge anybody. I was just as bad as some, and probably worse than most at points in my life. I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of, and I've paid heavy prices for those things. So yeah, this has really been on my mind to make this video for quite some time. I apologize for it being 20 and a half minutes into it now. uh, if you've watched through the end, drop me a like, or if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to message me. All the people that family and the few humans I call friends that are on my friends list, uh, you know, I'm more than welcome debate, questions, you know. I actually enjoy conversation on the topic. I'm always trying to learn and maybe get other people's perspective, but yeah, this is just my perspective. I've had these experiences in my life that have led me to the conclusion I've made, and I'm not demanding anybody believe the way I do, or that they come to the same conclusion about my experiences that I have. I would ask that you would consider